Happy Friday, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome in to Puck Time on WagerTalk TV. Of course, I'm Andrew. I have Carmine with me, and Andy Lang joins us again here on his second straight Friday. Just 3 games to break down, lots of totals, sides, and of course, props to dive into. Best bets at the end of the show, and I will try my best not to forget about the 6 in 60 segment with Carmine Bianco, 6 plays in 60 seconds. But we're heading to Sweden for our first game as the Maple Leafs take on the Red Wings, Sabres, Jets, and we also have the Florida Panthers out there in California taking on the Anaheim Ducks. Let's not waste any time. Let's dive into the first game on tap for us today, and the first game of the day taking place at 2 p.m. Eastern time. We've got the Red Wings and the Maple Leafs here going head-to-head. Carm, I'll throw it to you for your thoughts on this matchup. Of course, the Red Wings already played a game last night or yesterday in Sweden. Do you feel like that's an advantage for them, or does that matter at all in your handicap?
Um, it goes both ways. You can get the jet lag out of your legs, or you get the jet lag out with a couple extra days of rest. I think it's a 7.5 hour flight, is what I was told from, let's say, from Toronto or even Detroit to Sweden. But you look at this game, and yeah, yesterday's was a tale of two different games. I went out to watch the game. Later on, it's like 4-0, and then all of a sudden it's 4-4 before you know it. Four, I think it was 4 goals in like 8.5 minutes in the second period. So if you're an over lover, then you loved it. And the only drawback of that game yesterday, and I think some of it carries over to today, is I think fans wanted to see a shootout, which we didn't get to see in that one. But I think there's going to be goals in this game as well too. The shot props are off the charts in this one. You can't even touch them. You would think it's in Sweden. Let me go and look at William Nylander, who's customarily 3.5 minus 130, somewhere around there. He's at minus 175, minus 180 on over 3.5 shots, because they figure the Leafs are just going to want to get Nylander to have a big game there. No, the Leafs just want to win a game. I wouldn't touch that with your money, whether he gets there or not. Joseph Wall is supposed to be in goal tonight. We know, or today, this afternoon, we know it's Alex Lyon in goal. If we're in France, this would be pronounced Alex Lyon. But Husso's back in Detroit. His wife had a baby, so he didn't make this trip. And we remember Lyon. He used to be the guy that when you saw him starting, you ran to the window and you bet the over and the other team on the puck line. Last year, in limited action with Florida, and we saw it also in the playoffs, he was pretty good. 9-4-2, 289 goals against average. But I think, um, I have to think that the Leafs, and I mentioned this yesterday to the Prez, Leafs last season were the second best team on 3+ days of rest. They averaged in 12 games 1.5 points per game earned over 12 games on rest. So they're a good team. The rest doesn't worry me in this spot for the Leafs. And I think the Leafs take it to Detroit in this one. I would probably look at the puck line, because I'm not laying about $1.75. I'd probably look at regulation for the Leafs, and then look for some goals in this one as well too. But I'm going to stay away from those shot props, just because they are juiced to some of the Swedish players in this one. And Tavares, a guy who's on the line with Nylander, he's 3.5, and he shaded to the under, because you figure only one guy on that line is going to get the shots, and they figure it's going to be Nylander. I'm staying away from those shot props. I'll just watch from a distance and hope for some goals in this one. Andy, uh, IKEA, Sweden, they all go together, man. Give me your picks on this one.
Well,
Are you
last time
constructing
I was on,
something?
last time I was on here, I talked about uh, William Nylander not to have a point, and all he's done is have points. And so, what's interesting though about this prop is you can get him to have a point, and it's like minus 260. So it's obviously a parlay piece. But then you got other books that are offering 1.5. And when you look, he doesn't go over 1.5 most games. He's only done it twice in his last 10 games. So it's kind of interesting. You could actually look at him to have a point, but to not have 2 points. That being said, I don't know. I thought that game was kind of eye-opening yesterday, where you just saw, like you said, Carm, there's just like goals in waves, and I think we see something similar. This 6.5 seems pretty low. This is a Leafs team that scores goals, and this is a Red Wings team that gives up goals. So if I'm looking at anything in this game, it's on the over, and I'm kind of looking at this Maple Leafs team total over 3.5. You brought up the jet lag, and it is a back-to-back situation, but I think the Leafs will be just fine with getting over there. So I think there's going to be goals in this one. If I think one team is going to score more than the other, it's probably Toronto. So I like the over 3.5. And if you're looking for a parlay piece, listen, I will accept defeat on the Nylander. He's going to have a point in every game this season. So I've been proven wrong. Let's just keep cashing on him to have a point, especially in a game that I think is going to feature a lot of goals.
Great stuff. And it's hard to argue it, but good info there about the 1.5, Andy, because that's where some books will offer the 1.5. And as you mentioned, he's as consistent as it gets. He gets a point in every game, but not two, just one. He just limits himself to gets that 1 point and gets in and gets out. And I've been a huge team total guy this year, and I really do like that one. I had my eye on the Leafs team total over as well. Looking at this price here, with minus 170 on the money line, it's always good when you can get a better price on the team total. And Carmine talked about the rest factor for this Maple Leafs team, and overall, 4 straight overs for them when they have 3 days of extended rest. They're just a better team when they're not facing a really demanding schedule, which is kind of funny because, well, a lot of their better players are pretty young, so you'd think that they really wouldn't need that rest in order to go over the total. And also, you'd think that rest would mean that they're going to, play better defensively. And with no rest, you'd play worse defensively. But actually, it's been the opposite for this Maple Leafs team. So I'm with Andy on that team total over 3.5. But I found it quite interesting. So 15 straight games with a point for Nylander. 12 of those 15 games, he's had an assist. And the assist prop is plus money. The goal scoring prop itself is plus money. But for him to get a point is in the minus 200 range. So assist prop is something that's not very popular because people would be more comfortable just taking the point or getting that big score, taking someone to actually score a goal. But I think I'll take Nylander to get an assist. There's going to be lots of attention on him. He's playing very well, but I think that his scoring ability has kind of drawn a lot of players towards him, but people don't really talk enough about his playmaking ability. So I'll look towards the assist prop for Nylander, but I'm right there with Ann. And I got to mention here, guys, the bigger ice surface is a factor here. I mean, there's one of two ways it can go. The bigger ice surface over in Europe can either take longer for plays to develop and it'd be harder for plays to get created, or it's the opposite and it's just absolute pond hockey. And that's what we saw yesterday. I mean, when you give a European player a North American ice surface, they feel like everything's so crowded. If you give American players a European ice surface, they feel like they have 5 more seconds with the puck than they did before because they have so much room out there. So, Carm, I know you have a little follow-up here. I mean, what are your thoughts on that with the ice surface size?
Yeah, we saw it yesterday. We're watching the game, and I was watching the game with Rob Braley at a sports bar, and he says, "Does that ice look bigger to you?" I go, "Yeah, it is bigger. A lot of the European rinks are bigger." But with that said, I'm surprised right now because Alex Line has been named as a starter. He's confirmed that places don't have the goalie props up yet, the save props up yet, because that's probably one I would look at. You have to figure he's not going to get pulled in the game as well too. In this one, especially because Husso isn't available and their other goalie started yesterday, so you have to believe that if the Leafs pepper him with shots, he's staying in goal no matter what. They're not pulling him, so I'm looking for the save props. I'm hoping it's one of those ones again in that 29 to 29.5 to 30.5 range, and if it is, then I'll probably pop a quick bet on the over and then release it to my clients as well.
Let's see some goals in this game, guys. Let's see an afternoon with goals again. That game was wild yesterday, and I'm not expecting anything different here in this one. Andy, before you jump into the next game, which will be the Buffalo Sabres and Winnipeg Jets, tell everybody what you've been doing as far as hockey, your volume, kind of the play style of what you've been giving out, different types of props you're interested in, and what people can expect if they grab your hockey package.
Yeah, well, only my wife is allowed to grab my hockey package, but I do have a best bet that is up. No, um, uh, actually, Andrew, we've been doing things pretty different this year in NHL, and it's working. We're 12-6, and we've been utilizing some of these parlays. I already see people in the chat room been following. We use cross sport parlays. That's actually the best bet for today. I've got a parlay piece in the NHL. Parlayed it with a piece in the NBA. We already hit one of these this week, and it's been working. Other props that I like, Andrew, I've hit 5 in a row on players to not have a point. That is such a great market this year, is taking these teams that can't score and these players that are not getting it done on these teams, and you're getting great prices. So that's what's been working with me. I've not been afraid to get really creative with some of the props, and it's worked. Low volume. I don't have a play every night, but today, yeah, there's a play. It's a cross sport parlay. I think we're up over 42 units in cross sport parlays this year, so it's working, and that is up at WagerTalk.com. So encourage everyone to get that. But I will continue to be playing these guys to not get a point, Andrew. I think it's a hidden market, and it's so nerve-wracking to watch the games, but it's been successful. And like we always say, it's hard for a great team to be great every night, but it's easy for a bad team to be bad most nights. So betting on these bad teams and bad players to not do well has been a nice recipe for success.
And that's the thing, is that people love to bet overs, but in the NHL, there's 21 players out there on the ice. There's going to be off nights for guys. There's going to be nights where they do not perform and they do not play well. What about this one, though? You've got obviously two teams that have actually been involved in some high-scoring games recently. The Winnipeg Jets, Buffalo Sabres. What are your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I have the Jets over team total again in this one. The Sabres, Carm brought up some good points right before we went live. I hope he brings those up again. They're inconsistent. I find this team really difficult to bet on. When they lose big. You know, they lost to Boston 5-2, Pittsburgh 4-0, Philadelphia 5-1. And if the Jets win this game, the stats say they're going to score a lot. They're averaging 4.8 goals per game in their wins. So this is not a team that wins 2-1 or 3-2. They win by big margins. So if you're looking at the Jets team, I think you're looking at the team to score a lot of points. And if you think they're going to score a lot of points, then you obviously have to look at some of these guys to have a point here. Cole Perfetti, he's getting it done, and you're getting a fantastic price just to have a point. You don't need 1.5 points, just 1 point. This guy has gone over in 7 straight games. In 2 of those games, he's had 2. So it's a guy that is off of everyone's radar, and he's only minus 115. So I don't want to say rolling the dice, but I have this game to be high scoring. I think Winnipeg's going to put up goals. I like the over team total, and I like Perfetti to get over a point in this one. Sneaky under the radar guy at a great price.
Cole Perfetti, the young Canadian that's starting to find his game a little bit here. And you know, he started off slow, but you got to love the price on a guy like that right now, Carm. And the Winnipeg Jets, man, I keep talking about them. They're a team that was an under team, and now they're getting themselves involved in some higher scoring games. What do you think tonight when the Winnipeg Jets meet the Buffalo Sabres, Carm?
Yeah, that name he sounds like a dessert, you know what I mean? Like an Italian dessert, Cole Profetti. I had a couple espressos and a Cole Profetti this morning for breakfast. But with that said, listen, Winnipeg's playing some very good hockey. They're getting some breaks as far as the teams that they're playing and scheduling, but you can only play the teams they put in front of you. Sabres have had a rough go of it as far as schedule-wise. They play the Bruins, who are playing lights out hockey right now, and I think we're coming off a loss. They play the Penguins and lose to the Penguins, and the Penguins had strung together, I think, 5 or 6 wins. They beat Minnesota. They lose to Carolina in OT in Carolina, a team that hadn't lost at home until they dropped a 3-1 decision to the Flyers last time out. And then they went to Toronto and beat the Maple Leafs. So as far as on the road, I talked about it last year, the Sabres were a much better team on the road than they were at home. And this just feels like a letdown spot for Winnipeg. It really does. Buffalo coming in there and they expect the 2 points, and everyone and their mother is like Winnipeg, Winnipeg, Winnipeg puck line, Winnipeg regulation. I just want to play the contrarian here because I think the Sabres, with Luukkonen in goal, he's been the best of their 3 goalies this year. With the Comrie's was injured. I'm not sure if he's back. That Devon Levi, as well too, hasn't played as well as they expected him to. Luukkonen's played well. He came in that Boston game in the third period, stopped I think all 11. I think it was 11 or 14 shots in that one, and his goals against average is 2.9 and 2.92, and he's 2-2-1 on the road. If the Sabres are going to win this one, they need to get off to a good start in the first period, and that's where I'm going with this play. I'm taking the Sabres on the 2A money line plus 130 first period.
Well, that's a great play because they have not been good at coming back in games. They have been a team that once they go down, it's hard for them to kind of fight back, and a lot of that has to do with their defense, Carm. You know, they struggle late in games. I like that first period play. But this, to me, is one of those ones, guys, where I'm riding a streak. I'm riding a team in the Winnipeg Jets and even the Buffalo Sabres that are just being involved in high-scoring games. It doesn't matter who they're playing against. It doesn't matter what level their competition is, if it's a better team, a weaker team, whoever it might be. And look at this Buffalo Sabres team. Against Boston, give up 5 goals. Against Pittsburgh, give up 4 goals. Decent effort against Minnesota and Carolina, but then they give up 4 goals against Toronto. To me, this is a team that's not just struggling offensively. Their defense is really hurting them the most. And I feel like the Winnipeg Jets coaching staff has finally said to them, you know what? It hasn't worked over the past few years with us just, having that tight leash and playing the kind of hockey where you only need to score 2 or 3 goals to win. The NHL has changed. And I actually have to say it here. The Winnipeg Jets have changed. They are playing a fast brand of hockey. Their shot counts are up each game, and they're scoring goals. So over 6.5 is a play that I'm looking at here. I actually would be willing to take a look at the team total over for the Buffalo Sabres because I think they actually can catch this Winnipeg Jets team off guard a little bit. And, Winnipeg's been giving up a lot of chances off the rush, which with a lot of talented offensive defensemen, I feel like the Sabres can take advantage of that. But I'm a little bit surprised here with this Winnipeg team, guys. And as much as they've improved offensively, their defense has definitely been kind of hurt by that. And you take a look at some teams that they've allowed just, a couple different goals against, and it's not really been great, right? Like Arizona and some teams that I don't really respect as much are putting up goals against them. And Buffalo, their analytical numbers, I like to try and mention that, have actually not really met how they've played right now. They're actually, apparently, according to moneypuck.com, the Sabres are a better team than what the results have currently shown. And, it's always a gamble to try and, predict when those are going to start to turn and the analytics numbers will add up to how they're actually playing. But against this Winnipeg Jets team and how they play, I feel like the expected goals will actually start turning into goals for the Buffalo Sabres. So I can't really jump in with the plus 150 on the Sabres. I'll take the over, but also lean towards just the team total over in general for the Buffalo Sabres. So let's see some goals in that one. How about the last one of the night here? We've got the Anaheim Ducks and the Florida Panthers. And I've talked about this Florida team. And I think that they're a team that has definitely come along and they've dealt with the adversity of their defensive injuries, but they're really getting offense all over. They're not getting it from just the main guys as much as they really were a couple weeks ago. And I feel like that's been the difference. I've talked about prop bets. It's been Kachuk. It's been some of their main guys with Reinhardt, even Rodriguez stepping things up. But I actually have a hunch to the under in this game, Carmine. I look at this Ducks team, and unless they're in a really bad situation with their scheduling and things like that, they've been an under team. I think their scoring as starting the season off was a little bit lucky. They were overachieving offensively, taking advantage of, they'd have like 15 shots on goal and somehow have 3 or 4 goals. I think that those numbers are coming down slowly. And as we saw in their game against the Avalanche, I had the over in that one. The game only went over because one team did all the scoring. What do you think here, Carm? 6.5 is the total. Florida minus 175. What are your thoughts?
I think one team might do the scoring tonight in this one, Andrew, with Florida. It's I had that Colorado game against Anaheim as a play on the puck line, and I talked about the fact that it was their third game in 4 nights, all with travel, having played the second of a back to back, having played the night before in Nashville. So the situation really hasn't changed. I know the flight from Colorado to back to Anaheim isn't a big one, but we're now looking at a team playing their fourth game in 6 nights with travel in between each and every game, and they get a Florida team that were unlucky last night. Last night's game against the LA Kings was a playoff game. If you watch that game, and I had the over in that game, I went to sleep at the end of the first period. I said, there is no way that this game is ever going to go over the way these teams are playing right now. And I'm glad I got the extra hour and a half of sleep because that game finished 2-1. The analytical numbers in that game were 253 to 199. Even the analytic numbers, whether 5-on-5 was even lower, just goes to show you that it was a tight game with not a lot of goals. But Florida's a team that's been scoring goals. And when you play a game like that, when you play teams like Boston, when you play a team like LA, in that scenario there where it is a tight checking game, and then all of a sudden you play a team where there's some open ice, that's where you expect the guys on your top two lines to pile up the points. Guys like, for this team like the Barkov, the Tkachuk, Reinhardt, Bennett. These are guys who are going to get you points. And this is why I would lean to Florida here, but I think we're going to see goals in this one. I think um, Anaheim's Anaheim's gotten better. The one difference between Anaheim this year and Anaheim last year is their new coach is stressing not allowing as many shots on goal. Last year they allowed almost 40 shots on goal per game. This season, 32. You knock off, it doesn't sound like a lot, but you knock off an average of 8 shots on goal per game, you're going to be involved in some of the lower scoring games and you're going to play a lot better. But this Florida team is scoring a bunch of goals. They're playing extremely well. You got to draw a line through yesterday's game because they actually had the better analytic numbers, but lost 2-1. The Kings just played a very good defensive game. I don't think Anaheim can do the same tonight. And I'm taking Florida in this one, and I'd probably look at taking them in regulation as well too. Andy, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, this Panthers team, they're beating bad teams. I don't think their defense is that great. I mean, yeah, they're winning these games like 5-3 against San Jose, 4-3 against Chicago, 5-2 Carolina, and a couple overtimes like 4-3 and 5-4. So they're just putting in a lot of goals recently. And it's one of those where the season number doesn't really tell the whole story. Like, they're allowing 2.87 goals per game for the season, but they've allowed over 3 goals per game in their last 6. So they're letting teams score on them. They've just been putting in more. You talked about points, and Andrew, I talked about taking guys to not have a point. You could absolutely look at Sam Bennett to not have a point. He's going to get there, but he's dealing with the injury. I mean, he's played 3 games in a row coming back from the injury, hasn't had a point in any of those. He's only playing about 15 minutes, hasn't gone over shots on goal in the games since he's come back, and it feels like there's just other guys that are getting it done in these high-scoring games for Florida. He's not on the first power play line. So I would look at Bennett here, and we had a couple of people asked for me to do a don't play the same game parlay. So I have a little one here for you. And actually, Carm, it's kind of right up your alley, what you were talking about with the Panthers. I'm going to take the Panthers just on the money line, but I'm going to throw in the Ducks over 1.5 total goals. And when you do these same game parlays, if you take one team on the money line, but you take the other team to go over their team total, you get really good plus money. So that's plus 120. This is a Florida Panthers team that can give up goals. I mean, they gave up 2 to the Kings, 3 to the Sharks, 3 to the Blackhawks, 2 to Carolina. And Anaheim, like you said, Carm, they're getting better, but this 1.5 is low. Even though they got beat up really bad by Colorado, they still scored 2 goals. So I like this. I think this may be an actual play it kind of same game parlay. Panthers money line and over 1.5 Ducks. It gets you plus 120.
That is cool. And you look at the total price here on the graphic, it says minus 130 to the over. I've been very frustrated with these numbers we're getting for overs in games you think are going to have a lot of goals, Andy, because it's crazy because the Ralph Michael sent us in some graphics about some information about how 6.5s, how often they land on 7 exactly. So by you doing that parlay and the combo bet there, you get a, first of all, better price. But at the same time, you said over 1.5 for the Ducks, right?
Correct.
So that you could win, the score could be 3-2 and you could win your bet and you're getting plus money versus, having this 6.5 needing 7 goals. And like I mentioned, like it kind of reminds me of like baseball when you have like a really, really bad pitcher going against a decent lineup and the team total is some ridiculous number, like 5.5 or 6.5 runs, but the full game over is like 8.5. But we all know when you're betting the over in that game, you're really only thinking one team's going to do all the scoring. That's how I felt about the game. Like I said, the Colorado and Anaheim game, it was pretty much like I'm taking the over, but I need Colorado to get me 5. So I really like that one actually. That's cool. And you've actually taught me that if you take conflicting style plays, one team to do well and the other team to also do well, then you get a better price there. So I do like that. Overall, I think I'll be rocking with just Florida. I think that as much as Anaheim would like to bounce back from their bad effort last time out, I don't think they can hang with Florida overall. So, man, you're gonna get me tailing these same game parlays now, Andy. I like the vibe of that. Carmine, any
Only on
comment on that?
Fridays.
Yeah.
I have no comment. I'm looking at rink sizes while you guys are talking there. The the Avicii rink size, according to Eurohockey.com, is 60 by 30 is the rink size. So just in comparison of what the actual sizes of the arenas are. I was looking for Scotiabank to compare it for the Leafs, but couldn't find it. Because we did state that the ice looked bigger on TV, so I assumed European rinks, they say as a whole, are bigger than the ones in North America. But unless I had the actual sizes, I couldn't confirm or deny one way or the other.
Yeah,
That's all I
so
wanted to say.
we might as well. Yeah, no, good info there. And we might as well mention we got to shout out our Tuesday guest here, Don Buster. He was letting us know that, and I was wondering this as well, because it's the regular season. Apparently, according to a beat writer from The Athletic, Max Boltman, he said that they actually brought in the boards. Somehow, I don't know how they were easily able to adjust the rink, but they were preparing for this for a long time. They have made the ice surface the exact same as what it would be in the NHL. So, hand up, that's my mistake. That's my mistake. I just assumed that they would have the European ice surface. And I think it's because it's the regular season. In the preseason, when they go over to Europe, they don't have to change it, right, guys? They're just like, okay, whatever, it's the preseason. But I guess because it's the regular season, they felt like they had to, make sure it's the exact same rink size as they're used to usually.
Played
I'm
on
just
this.
happy they kept
Played on the
I'm just
same
happy they
thing.
kept the ice surface. I'm just happy it's not like the NBA play-in tournament or whatever the hell they're talking about, the in season where like they're just changing the color of the court. Like that's just getting a little bit gimmicky here. But Carm, there's lots of games tomorrow, just 3 games for today. What do you have for us for tomorrow? I know you've already done your research ahead of time. It's time for the 6 in 60. Didn't forget.
Yeah, so the lines aren't out as of yet. I did get them off of one book that I use. So I'll reference just money line or regulation, or the over-unders are normally at 6.5. So with totals, I'll use a 6.5, and then I'll just use money line or regulation on these. We need to get a winning 6 and 60 going. Come on. By the way, next Friday, I will not be here. The Prez will be hosting. But on Thursday, I will record a special edition of the 6 and 60, which will be for the big slate of games on Friday. Obviously, it is American Thanksgiving next weekend or next week, and a bunch of NHL games across the board on Friday with early start times, afternoon start times, and evening start times. So you got plenty of betting action next week, and I'll record that on Thursday for you guys, and we'll play it on Friday's show. With that said, Dan, hit the clock. Montreal and Boston. Rapid revenge fought for Boston here at home after they lost in Montreal in OT. We're taking Boston in regulation. The Isles in Calgary, 3rd and 4 nights for the Islanders and 5th and 8 nights, all with travel. Flames 4-1-1 their last 6. Let's take the Calgary Flames money line here. Pittsburgh and Carolina. Canes suffered their first loss to the Flyers at home. Bounce back spot here against a Pittsburgh team. They swept the season series against 4-0 last season. Rangers and Devils over 6.5. Jack Hughes is back for this team. They somehow got 5 goals in Pittsburgh last night. Let's look for the scoring to continue over 6.5. Columbus and Washington under 6.5. They played 2 weeks ago, finished 2-1. Washington, 8 of the last 10 have gone under the total. They're playing defense under 6.5. And then we're going to end it with St. Louis and the LA Kings. Kings playing some great hockey. The Sharks got 8 up the Blues. Let's take the Kings in regulation. That's your 6 and 60.
Wow.
Where's the crowd? I want to hear the crowd, the bell, something.
Yeah, I mean, you might as well start doing
I never hear
7 and 60.
Yeah, Joe, come on. I want to hear some like that music or something. You know what I mean? Like I'm a Bills fan and we're not winning anything right now. But so it's good to have some positive vibes going on here. But yeah, listen, some of these games are going to make my card. I will mention because I think the Isles Calgary is a good spot. Calgary's playing much better hockey right now. And you know, and that Kings game as well too against St. Louis. The Kings are just playing some very good hockey. Like I didn't expect them to do what they did last night. I watched some of the highlights later on because I tuned out after the first period. But my God, they're just playing some very good hockey and starting to win games at home, which they had a losing record at home and a winning record on the road. And we know, kind of like what Brian Leonard mentioned on yesterday's show, eventually that corrects itself and looks like it's starting to correct itself. So I wish you guys the best of luck on these plays. I want to hit at least 5 out of 6. I want to go 6 out of 6 if possible. So hopefully you guys can make some betting money with the 6 and 60. Andrew?
Yeah, like I said, Carm, with you know the little amount of time it took you to get through that, we might need 7 picks from you next week. So 7 and 60 is on the horizon if you keep blasting through them that quick. So good luck this weekend, and I like a lot of those picks. And unfortunately, I even like the one where you're fading my Montreal Canadiens. Andy, what do you have for us this weekend? You're on a roll with your college football plays, actually. In fact, between Prop It Up recording and Puck Time, I actually tailed you and locked in your best bet. So I advise people to do that as well and lock that in. But what do you have going across all sports this weekend? And what's your best bet for the show?
Yeah, college football has been great for us to see. We just decided doing one bet per week. That's it. And it's a team total every week, and we're 8-3. So they've been fantastic. So we have our best bet up, and it is one that I just love. It jumped off the page for me, checks all the boxes. So you can grab that and lock it in on my profile page at WagerTalk. College football 8-3, number 1 in ROI and winning percentage in that sport. And hockey's been doing really well, 12-6. We're combined 26-16 in NBA and NHL, and I bring that up because I have a cross-sport parlay that is up. This will be the 3rd one for this season in NBA and NHL, and we've hit the first 2. So a lot of good things cooking. We're very low volume. I don't have plays in these sports every single night, so when I do, you know, it's important to grab them. So, yeah, for my best bet, I'm going back to the theme of taking guys to not have a point, and I'm going to Anaheim and Alex Killorn to not have a point. He has 1 game this season with a point in it. That was against Philly, where he had 2 assists. He had 5 shots on goal against San Jose. San Jose gives up, it feels like, 5 shots to every player. They give up the most shots on goal in the league. Other than that, in the other 5 games, he has a combined 4 shots on goal. He has no shots on goal in the last 2 games. He is on the first power play line, but Florida gives up the 6th least penalty minutes per game. So while I think the Ducks are going to score a couple goals, I don't think Killorn's going to be involved. This would be very new, and it's minus 115. Again, you find some of these hidden gems on guys to not have a point, and you only need 1 or 2 a day at a really good price. So Alex Killorn to not have a point, minus 115, my show best bet.
Yeah, it's almost like when you go from playing on a team like the Tampa Bay Lightning to the Anaheim Ducks, your ability to score goals goes down. I like that one quite a bit, Andy. And for the price that you mentioned there, I got to tell you on that one as well. Killorn to not have a point for Andy. And guys, don't forget about Andy's best bet there in college football, also NFL action and UFC, man. UFC's been lots of fun. And there's lots of great cards to finish off the 2023 calendar year. Carm, I know you're in action as well this weekend in all kinds of different sports. What do you have going this weekend?
Yeah, Andrew, quick trivia to you. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Who said that?
Michael Scott?
No. Kyle Anthony at Westgate during the WagerTalk meet and greet at the bar with Andy Lang, myself, and Uncle Benny. That man loves his shots. Kyle Anthony, huge shout out to him. Listen, we've got a couple of games going today in Euro Soccer. 4 plays up in NHL. 2 of them are this afternoon in the 2:00 game from Sweden. So grab that one, grab that NHL package early. I'll repost the 2 plays later on if you miss out on it. Soccer this weekend, hockey this weekend, NFL this weekend, including a 5% play that is up at WagerTalk. Grab the 3-day all access package. Get all three days for I think it's $69. It's a great deal, and you get all of those plays. I'm going to go to a shot prop. We lost for the first time this week yesterday. Steven Stamkos decided not to get any shots on goal. Shots again. We're going with Matthew Tkachuk tonight. He had 5 or 6 last night. 6 last night, 10 in his last 2 games. He's gone over the total in 6 of 9 games this season. And his shot total is 3.5 here, minus 140. I'm hoping for a lot more open ice tonight with this Florida team and for him to be a part of it and get some shots on goal. He's been very active this season with those shot totals. So over 3.5, minus 140 is your show best bet.
Great stuff, Carmen. Best of luck this weekend on all plays. And I think that it's going to be a great weekend for the 3 of us with all the action going on. I just love November in general for sports betting. There's just so many options. If you can't find a bet you like in November, people might be in the wrong business or really they just don't like sports betting. Put in the work, guys. Find some spots across so many sports. I'm sure you can find something that you like. And I like something in the CFL, and I got a 5% going on Sunday in the Grey Cup, 11-2 on the year with 5% plays in the CFL. Those have been my best bets. And it's the last game of the season. So guys, if you haven't been joining me on those 5% plays in the CFL, this is the last time to do so until next season. So 5% play going. Join me over at WagerTalk.com. This best bet here is for the early game, Maple Leafs. I'm going to take Nylander over on his assist prop. Talked about how pricey that number is for him to get a point, as he's had one in every single game so far this season. But all of a sudden, you're getting pretty much even money on him to get an assist. And as we all know, he's not scoring a goal in every game. He's getting lots of assists as well, but they are really not moving this assist number at all. I'll take him. Nylander, of course, he is Swedish. They're playing in Sweden. Everyone wants to bet him to score a goal and do all this. I think he's a better playmaker than he gets credit for. I'll take Nylander over 0.5 assists. Guys, wishing you all the best of luck tonight and on the weekend. Thank you so much for watching us every day here on the WagerTalk TV YouTube channel. And guys, if you're enjoying the content, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and make sure you check out myself, Carmine, and Andy at WagerTalk.com. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on Monday.